my name is Gracie, and today I'm going to be vlogging, kind of, the creation of a linen sundress. And I'm using the Tilly and the Buttons Seren Sundress pattern and some nice linen fabric that I got from Burnley and Trowbridge. I started this project back in June, hoping for a quick project for something comfortable to wear in the summer. And then I finished it in September, so that didn't work out super well, but it's pretty warm where I am regardless, so I've been able to wear it even though it is no longer technically summer. Climate change, yay! As I said, I've been working on this for a while, but that's partially because I ended up hand sewing a lot of this project, and it also ended up getting pushed to the side when I was working on other things. But now I have a sundress, and I'm excited to show you how I made it. Starting out by cutting out the pattern. First I have to basically cut off the edges of the paper and then tape it together and then cut it out. This would be much easier with one of those paper cutters. I don't know, I think that's what they're called. But as it is, scissors, paper, floor, tape, time to get cutting. At this point in the process, I made a mistake that, as you will see, would haunt the rest of this project. Forgetting about how much ease or extra room is included in modern patterns, I decided to alter the pattern to fit my bust shape, or my bust size, because the size that fit my waist would not fit my bust based on the measurements given to me in the pattern. So I decided to make the bodice the size of my bust at the bust and then taper it off to my waist size at the waist. And spoiler alert, this didn't work. Once I had a pattern, however flawed it was, I began cutting from my striped linen. Whew, it's very, very hot. I probably look quite a mess. It's like 100 degrees in Seattle, or it was 100 degrees today. I don't know how hot it is now. And it's supposed to get hotter tomorrow, this heat wave. So I am going to try to start sewing this linen dress because, oh boy, I need some more linen clothing. I am too warm. Yeah, well, I'll get to sewing. Probably no more close-ups of my face today, though. I stitched up the bodice to start. First the darts, then the side seams, which were stitched with French seams. After a quick try-on, I realized that my bodice didn't really fit, so I tried to undo the alteration by taking it in at the bust, which you can see by the blue marking line on the bodice here. I have to leave for the airport in like 30 minutes, and so I'm trying to get this dress to as far a place as I can on the machine so I can do the rest of it by hand while I'm on my trip. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm putting together the bodice, and this was kind of confusing, so I'll describe it real fast. First, I laid the main part of the bodice down face up. Then I put the ruffle on, also face up. Have not yet hemmed that because I have to do that by hand. Then I put the straps on, which I had fitted in place, face down, and then the facing down, also face down. And I think, when I turn this inside in, the facing will kind of like finish all the raw edges, and I'll have a ruffle and then straps. I hope this works. So I'll check in if it doesn't, but let's hope that I don't have to check in again. I stitched together the bodice, and I think that worked, and I also think that my shot was extremely close up when I shot that, so sorry about that. Now I'm gonna stitch together the skirt, add the skirt facing, and I think I can pack it up, and the rest of it will be by hand, including all the buttonholes. And so began the hand sewing. I had done my side seams incorrectly on the machine, so I had to redo them by hand using a mantua maker's stitch to create nicely finished seams. Next, I stitched down the skirt facing using running stitches. A little behind the scenes, I was visiting family as I was making this. Don't worry, I'm vaccinated and we were being safe. And so this project was crumpled up in my bag, and the bodice, which at this point was like multiple different layers of facings and ruffles and straps, was super crumpled, so I had to give it a good ironing before I could even start doing any stitching on it. First, I basted along the upper edge of the bodice beneath the ruffle to hold the facing and ruffle in place and to prevent shifting. This functions almost like a hand-done version of the understitching that one would ordinarily do around a facing, and this was eventually reinforced with spaced back stitches. Next, I stitched around the turned under edge of the facing, firmly securing it in place with running stitches. I've been stitching down the facings with running stitches, and ordinarily I would stitch this sort of thing down with whip stitches or slip stitches, but this fabric is so busy that the white linen thread doesn't really show up very visibly on the front, even with the running stitches. And anyway, the ruffle around the top is going to hide that those running stitches regardless, so I'm going with the running stitches, which are much faster. It's been fun to do a lot of hand sewing on this project. I ordinarily would do much more machine sewing, especially with the long skirt seams. My next step was hemming the ruffle. Ideally, this would have been hemmed earlier in the process, but I was able to do it at this point just fine. I am stitching the skirt to the waistband by hand. I would ordinarily do this by machine, but no machine here. And I think it's going okay. I did have to kind of stretch the fabric of the skirt a little bit to fit it to the waistband, which I was not expecting, but I know that the skirt fits me, so I don't think that'll be a fit problem. Yeah, I think after this I'll be doing buttons and buttonholes and then a hem, and then I'll be able to wear it. Once the skirt was stitched to the waistband, I filled the waistband lining to the seam allowance to hide the raw edges. I took special care at the center front of the waistband to secure the edges together with tiny whip stitches. I am stitching the interior of the waistband to the skirt. I stitched some like small whip stitches along the edges to kind of butt those edges together, and now I'm just whip stitching it to the seam allowance on the inside. And this pattern is weird because the waistband is curved and it feels like it shouldn't be. Like, it looks bad. It's on the bias and the stripes are weird. And then it's like at a slight angle. This is the bodice, this is the skirt, and it like angles down. Hopefully it'll be fixed when I'm like buttoning it closed, but if I made this again, I would just make it with a straight waistband. Next, I hemmed the skirt, whip stitching down the hem which I had previously basted. I had intended to do the buttonholes on this dress by machine, but once I got on the hand sewing train, it was difficult to get off. So I began stitching my buttonholes by hand as well. The buttonholes on the bodice and skirt were simple enough, but those on the waistband were a little bit more complicated because the waistband was not cut on the straight of grain. Once the buttonholes were stitched, I sewed on little flower buttons. I think these are so cute, and I'm glad I was able to find enough of them for this project. Because the fit of the bodice had been continually, throwing a fit, I shortened the straps, which actually improved the fit, at least visually. The bust darts are no longer in the right place, but with the ruffle, that isn't noticeable, and now the bodice isn't pooling around my torso. Once the new strap position was pinned down, I stitched the new straps in place. My last step was making the pocket. Because this dress was already a little bit eclectic looking, and because I didn't have enough of the striped linen for a matching pocket, I decided to go for a fun pocket. I used dark blue thread that matched the blue in my linen to outline my pocket in running stitches, and to attach a cute orange clover patch by Addie Best. Then I secured the pocket through the dress with nearly invisible whip stitches. So what are my thoughts on this pattern? I think that the pattern design is very cute, but I wish that they clarified how much ease they put in the pattern instructions, because if I had known how much ease this was going to have, I probably wouldn't have altered the pattern to begin with, and that would have saved me a bunch of trouble. As it is now, you can't really see it because the flap covers it, but the bodice sits really weird on me. The bust dart is way too high, and it's just, the fit is not very good, but because I'm able to wear it with a belt and it has that big ruffle which hides a multitude of sins, you can't tell that the fit's not that great. I think I mentioned this in the video, but I have no idea why they chose to use a curved waistband pattern. All of their samples in the pattern were made with like a solid colored fabric rather than a print or a stripe. And I feel like especially with a stripe, the fact that the waistband is curved is so noticeable because you can see like the angle of the stripes changing across the waistband, and it just looks weird. It also, as I noted, led to some fit issues and just, I did not like that curved waistband. Next time, if I make this dress pattern again, I'm going to just use a plain straight waistband that I cut to my own measurement. Honestly, I might take apart this dress or part of it and replace the waistband. I don't have any more of this pretty fabric, but I think just a white linen waistband would correspond well with the pocket, and it would probably work much better too. And I think it would, because the bodice is also slightly too long, so that would make me be able to fix that. All this is to say, this is a weird pattern. I'd recommend making a mock-up and changing the waistband to just a straight rectangle. But I do think overall it's a cute pattern. With the ruffle across the bust, it's something that you can totally wear without a bra if you so choose, which I know a lot of people really like. So if you're looking for a cute summer sundress that you can wear braless, this is a good pattern. I think it also makes up really nicely in linen. It gives it a really ethereal feel, which is nice because I feel like linen doesn't work well for all projects just because of the texture of it, but this is a great project if you want to use up some linen and make a cute linen sundress. Yeah, I think that's all I have for this, so feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them. And yeah, I hope everyone has a nice rest of their day. Bye!